Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. When an animal in the natural world is wounded, it usually retreats from animals and human beings as a way to seek healing. But what works for animals in the natural world does not work for people suffering from depression. This is because human beings are social animals, hardwired for connection. Thus, contact and support leads to healing, but isolation only makes things worse. Nonetheless, many of my clients tell me that when they get super depressed, all they want to do is go in the room, lock the door, get under the covers, and hide. Unfortunately, this is counterproductive. And so the question is, how can we basically do the opposite of this tendency and reach out? To answer this question, I turned to my friend Noah, who is a fellow depression survivor and has a channel of his own on YouTube, and helped me to start this channel. And we had a conversation one rainy afternoon in Portland to talk about how to counter the tendency to withdraw. This is what follows, and I hope you enjoy it.
What's going on, guys? No, just checking in with another video on depression and anxiety, a mental health video with author, depression survivor, and counselor Douglas Bloch. He's also a friend, a mentor, and a guide for me, and he was when I was at my absolute worst. We are diving into some topics that we think are relevant and pertinent to us, obviously, and hopefully to you guys as well. You can find Doug online just by searching Douglas Bloch.
Depression.
Douglas Bloch Depression. You can also check the description. I'll have a link to his channel. You guys should check him out. And today we're going to talk about something that I think is universal for people battling mood disorders. And I imagine just people battling life hardships and trauma. And that is this tendency to withdraw and isolate. And whether or not that's a good thing, a bad thing, is it normal? How do you combat that? Should you fight it at all? We're just going to dive a little bit into that topic because people can relate to it. I don't know a single person who doesn't feel like they want to just curl up in a ball and be left alone. But sometimes what you want isn't always what you need, and we're going to explore some more on that whole issue. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Noah.
You're a real swell guy.
Yes! We're having fun today, guys.
Absolutely. If we can't laugh about it, what can we?
Right. A little sense of humor. So this thing about withdrawing.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought about when you said that is I once had a cat who got an abscess from a fight she was in, and was very ill. And one day, shortly after this happened, the cat disappeared, and we thought it had run away. It turned out it had hidden somewhere in the garage where it had withdrawn and gone away, because it was sick. And animals do that.
Interesting. I actually hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, when animals are sick, they tend to withdraw and try to kind of let themselves heal in quiet. Obviously, this abscess wasn't going to heal, so we luckily found the cat, and we took the cat to the vet and got antibiotics, etc. But I've heard that when animals are ill, they tend to go to a quiet place and try to just lay still and let nature heal. So maybe that's where the instinct comes when people are depressed, do the same thing. But it is completely and totally counterproductive in my experience.
Right.
Usually counterproductive.
I think in bits and pieces, of course it's natural to want some solace, some quiet time, just especially at your absolute worst. There were moments when I would run to my room and I would just get in my bed and I would get in the covers and I would wince in discomfort from my depression and my anxiety, and I maybe needed those moments. But if I were to stay in that space alone, it would eventually, I would just eat myself alive.
What happens is that, you stop answering phone calls, you stop opening the mail, you disengage with life. And what are they trying to do when you're in the hospital? You go to groups.
Right.
You don't sit in your room and suck your thumb, right?
Right, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, some people, before they were depressed or anxious, they're very self-reliant. They trust their instincts. They listen to their inner voice, that conscience on their shoulders, so to speak. But one of the most damning things, in my opinion, about being depressed is that in many ways you cannot trust your view of the world anymore, your view of yourself, your sense of what you should and shouldn't do. I say this on my channel, it relates to a lot of people. Your broken brain can't fix your damaged mind. You need guidance, so you need to follow a path put before you, and what you think you might need often is really not what ends up working.
Very similar to the idea of a person feeling that they're never going to get better.
Exactly.
That's an illusion.
Of course.
But the broken brain, the dysregulated brain convinces you of it. Yeah, for example, when you're really depressed and your brain is broken, it tells you that you're never going to get better.
Right.
And you believe it.
Oh, yeah.
Then you start becoming suicidal.
Because it feels so real.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain is real.
It's not just the pain. It's not that the pain is intense. It's not that it's sort of, around you all the time, but it's that it will never go away.
That you see no end in
That's
sight.
the damning belief.
Right. Because I've said this before. When you're in that acute space, the idea of being like that forever, which is where you go, that's the mind space you take.
Right.
It's the most haunting thing
It's
ever.
It's unacceptable.
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 Even the most proud person will contemplate ending it all after a few. I mean, some people are like, I could last a week. What's the big deal? Depression is temporary, says someone who hasn't lived in it, because for 4 months, 5 months, a year, it doesn't feel temporary.
9 months, no.
It feels like forever. But anyway.
So there are many ways in which the brain can trick you,
Right.
like withdrawing. But evidence shows, experience shows that's not. There's something in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, called opposite action.
Yeah.
When you feel like withdrawing, you do the opposite.
Gotcha.
You reach out. Because my 3 mental health recovery tips: set the intention to heal,
Right.
reach out for support, and treat your symptoms using a combination of mutually supportive therapies. Unless you reach out, nothing happens.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think another reason that a lot of people want to withdraw, this is certainly one of the reasons I wanted to withdraw, was because I felt like no one would understand. I got it in my head that no one had been through what I was going through. People would judge me. People couldn't handle me. I didn't want to bring them down. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to be around someone who, in my mind, was happy, maybe who'd never been through it. I wrote that story in my head. And so isolating made sense. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a bother. But you guys would be, I was surprised. And I tell people all the time, you would be surprised how many people understand. And just you being vulnerable with them will bring them into a space to want to protect you. The people that came out of the woodworks to sit with me when I was depressed, to go to the movies with me, to support me, blew my mind, shocked me, because I thought I was all alone.
So this is why I'm so convinced that withdrawing is counterproductive,
Sure.
even though you may feel like it. I've been running this group for 16 years now.
Right, which I was a part of.
You were in 2011.
Right.
Every person who's reached out and joined the group and asked for help, both from the group members, from me, from their friends, from their doctors, from their rabbis, from their parents, from their psychiatrists, from their husbands, their wives, their children, everything, those people have survived.
Did you guys hear that? I'm not trying to be
The more
like...
you reach out, the more you connect, the greater your likelihood of survival is.
So he's been running a group for a decade plus, 16 years, however long you're running it. What he just said there was powerful, and it's something that strikes me very deeply. Every single member of his group that has come and reached out for support has survived. And I know, I've been at the group, I remember the members that didn't think they would, and I heard their stories. Hopeless stories, guys, like completely hopeless stories, and they survived. That fact should comfort you if you don't think you're one of those people that can. It does require some action and time, but you can survive, and that's, you have to understand
here's
that.
the opposite story, very sad.
Oh, perfect, let's bring the mood down.
Well, no, it's not. It's an instructive story. So in my book, Healing from Depression, which you should all go out and get, by the way, on Amazon.com.
Absolutely, link in the description.
Right.
Read it when I was in the mental ward.
Right.
So
I dedicate this book to Ann Zimmerman. Ann Zimmerman was my psychotherapist in 1991 through 1995. She was my woman therapist. And she had a bunch of trauma. She was subject to depression, had as a kid. Her father died, she lost her job. A couple of other major losses, and she got depressed. And what she did, instead of staying around Portland to reach out for support with her support system, she went down to Los Angeles to visit her daughter who was in college. Except the daughter was gone all the time, right? So she was basically living by herself in an apartment, cut off from her support system in Portland, had really nowhere to go, and eventually ended up taking her own life because of the isolation, because she was so isolated. And in her isolation, all of her despair, all of her hopelessness built up, and there was nobody around to
counter it.
Like, see, in the group, we hold the field.
Right.
See, look, if you can't believe that you can get well, other people can do it.
Exactly.
For you.
Exactly. I've had people say, like, I ask them, do you believe you can get better? They say no.
No.
And then I respond with, well, do you believe that I believe that you can get better?
Exactly.
And they usually will answer yes, because why wouldn't they believe it?
And when you have like 6 or 8 or 7 or 9 or 10 people all believing that at the same time,
It's powerful.
it's powerful. It actually changes your karma and destiny.
Yeah, I believe that. I think it can change your brain chemistry. Being around people, period.
Right. But it's so important when you're hopeless to be with people who have hope for you. Like in '97, Michael Moran from the Living Enrichment Center said, the reason you're going through this, Douglas, is because you're going to write a book one day when you get out the other side and help people, this depression. I said, you're crazy. I'm not the crazy one. You're the crazy one, because one of the reasons I got depressed is my writing career was over. The well was dry. I had nothing to say. Nothing to say. That's why I'm depressed. So do you think I'm going to write another book? You must be out of your mind. Sure enough, 6 months later, when I came out of the depression, within 2 weeks, I started working on my memoir, When Going Through Hell Don't Stop, just like he had predicted. I promise you that the fact that he and the other ministers of that church were visualizing that for me was partially responsible for their vision coming true.
It's awesome.
They were doing it, around me. I didn't believe them, but it had an effect.
Of course.
So we need to bring in the troops. We need to get on a team, that's going to help Douglas, or Team Noah, Team Douglas, Team whoever you are, and that might not guarantee your survival 100%, but it'll be 99.99999. And without that, you are tremendously handicapped.
Yeah.
Tremendously handicapped.
Absolutely.
I have never known a person who has beaten depression
Completely
on their own.
alone.
The people who drop out of the group, the people who, like, we just knew this gal who just drew from both of us.
And may she rest in peace.
Yeah. She, they just, I hear about them. They're in the hospital, they're chronically depressed, sometimes they commit suicide. It just doesn't work. So if you have the feeling that you want to withdraw, do what they say in DBT, opposite action, do the opposite. No matter how hard it is, reach out, give someone a call, just let someone know you need some assistance. And like you said, people are glad to go out of their way.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, they're surprised. They want to, because altruism is a part of, I can't even pronounce the damn word, right?
Altruism.
Altruism is a part of human nature.
Yeah.
People feel better when they help other people. There's something
course.
called helper's high that they have written about in Psychology Today.
I stay high all the time, then.
Right. So you're giving gift to a person when you ask them to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They're feeling better. So rather than think you're a burden to people, that's a really common delusion when people are depressed. I'm a burden. Delusion. You said no, that's a delusion. It's just the opposite. I'm a gift to people when they come and reach out and help me. I'm
beautiful.
a gift, not a burden.
And that's beautifully put, and I appreciate the way you worded that. It strikes a deep chord with me. And the last thing I wanted to say, the thing that crossed my mind was that, for whatever it's worth, guys, there would be times where I was certain I needed to be alone. I was positive people would put things in place for me, whether it be the group or a meeting or a friend who was willing to come sit with me. We didn't even have to speak, and I would cancel it. Or I'd say I wasn't going, I wouldn't do it, and someone would coax me, like my mom or something, because I had to move in back home. I had that opportunity to live back with my parents when I was too sick to work, or I could barely live, right? And I would do it anyway, and I would be bitter, and I'd be angry, and I was certain that it was going to make things 10 times worse. And then, in spite of myself, somewhere in the midst of group or in the midst of seeing someone, I might smile. In the midst of suicidal depression, someone would make a joke and I felt it and I might laugh. Or I might leave and I just feel a little more hopeful. But I was positive I wouldn't. So I didn't know any better. And the point is, I put myself in the situation and things just happen. I mean, they just happen. So you have to trust that you don't know better than this situation. Like, you need to turn it over to the people that do know better, because things just happen. Just like some people don't know how they got depressed. You might not know why you just got better, as long as you follow a model. So right. Douglas is a model. Follow him. He's done this before, tried and true. It's not a fluke. I can be a model to an extent as well, but Doug has a really good regimented plan in his book. And this whole video wasn't to plug his book, but I did read the book. It's why I found him. I found out he was local. I found his group. But if you want to check out his book, When Going Through Hell Don't Stop, and then 12 Weeks to a Better Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood, we'll put the links there. He spells out how he survived his major depression. And it's not a joke. We're not making tons of money off this. This isn't about that. This is about paying it forward. And I hope you can just take what we're saying to heart and understand that, if you don't believe in yourself, we certainly do. We really do. Every life matters. And don't isolate. That's obviously the underlying topic of everything. Don't isolate. I hope you get...
And don't believe what your brain is telling you.
Don't believe what your brain is telling you. It's fine. You'll be able to trust yourself once again, and you'll know when that time comes. Hindsight's crazy. You'll look back and be like, holy shit, I can't believe I was so certain.
Well, with the Michael Moran thing, I look back, of course he was right. Of course I was going to write a book about my experience. At the time, he seemed like a lunatic.
Right.
I didn't believe him. My brain was deluded. I didn't know reality.
Yeah. And that's sort of, it's crappy, and we're not telling you that you're still in there, the real you can trust, you're still in there, but you're muffled. And people like us can be voices of reason.
Trust other people.
Yeah, trust other people right now.
If they're
you can trust
saying
yourself.
this is what can help you, if people love you or telling you something, trust them.
Just
Even if
trust
you don't
them.
believe it, trust them.
Exactly. So I think we'll wrap the video up there. Check out the description for links to his channel, books, articles, his other videos. Join in the comment section and just let us know your experience with depression. Talk about how you got out of it. Talk about experiences of isolating. Let's be kind to each other, and let's just try to connect and help one another. I appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate your time, sir. Put her there, partner.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to leave me your feedback, you can do so in the comments section, or you can email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you want to learn more about this work, during the closing credits, if you click on my photo in the upper left-hand corner of the page, you'll be taken to my channel where you can subscribe. If you click on the book below that, you'll be taken to my website, healingfromdepression.com. And if you click on one of the videos, you'll get to see that video. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you.